Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So yesterday we saw that yajna, which is actually a Vedic ritual where you recognize your connection with so many different forces and their contribution to your life, okay, which itself is something which is beautiful. That itself can be sattvic, rajasic or tamasic, okay, depending upon what your intentions are and what you are looking for. Okay, so what we saw is that when it is yashtavyam, yashtavyam is a potential form. Okay, it's in Sanskrit, it is a potential form. Okay, so to be done, should that is the meaning. Okay, it is to be done by me, and phala anabhisandhaya means that without really looking for something in particular from it, is just my contribution. The focus is contribution and not what I want. Okay, so when that is done in that way, and it is mantrahinam, it is with proper making appropriate efforts, compensating people who are involved in that participation appropriately, then it becomes sattvic. Okay, when it is done with one's own, I want something out of it, then it becomes rajasic. Okay, and when it is done with not following the vidhis properly, not making enough effort to chant the mantras properly, to know their meaning properly, it becomes tamasic. Okay. Now, as I had said, that very yajna, okay, one is a Vedic ritual, but the whole life is seen as a yajna. Okay. Now, you can ask, how do you get that meaning? Okay. So this is what we call, it's a teaching tradition. Teaching tradition is that all these books, anything that we teach, if you look at the verses, there are 2 lines, okay, the translation, okay. So I can just tell you the meaning and I can move on, right? Because I am following Sanskrit and I am telling you what each word means and then I move on. What will you get out of it? Nothing, okay. So that means there is this teaching tradition which is evolved over thousands of years. This is our heritage, okay. What are the source books? One, Adi Shankaracharya Bhashyam. Okay, on the Gita, which is otherwise just this much, if you just put together all the verses of the Gita, the book would be this thick. Okay, when you look at the commentaries of Adi Shankaracharya, it will become this much. That is the wealth of knowledge and the analysis and the tightness of thinking. Okay, and the broadness, not only just the tightness, but the broadness of thinking. Okay, so when you go and expose yourself to this kind of a teaching, you're getting into the source books. Okay, so when a teacher who's a qualified teacher, like how we do a study of 3.5 years, where we go to Adi Shankaracharya Bhashyam in Sanskrit, we learn the language so that we have an access to this whole body of knowledge. Okay? Based on Adi Shankaracharya Bhashyam, there are others who then, what happens is they write commentaries on commentaries. Okay, so you have, which is what we call tika. Okay, and on those commentaries you have footnotes, which is called tippani. So there is this verse, then it is analyzed very thoroughly. Okay, when Adi Shankaracharya makes any given statement, okay, he not only says, okay, this is what the Bhagavad Gita or Upanishad says, he shows why and how. Okay, and he also puts that given thought in tests it with all the other thoughts that are possible in his time. And he shows that, okay, two people are looking at this verse, two people are saying the same different things. Who is right? Okay, who is right? What is the criteria? Like I explained on the first day, the criteria always is, if it is the truth, it cannot be contradicted by reasoning. Very scientific. Okay? So that means that not only he substantiates why what he says is what is written in the Shruti, but and then shows how it is true with reference to what is, okay, and then tests this against all the other contemporary thoughts and says, if what I'm saying is right, I can show contradiction somewhere. Okay? And they cannot contradict what I'm saying, so what stays is the truth. This is the heritage that India has received. This is not a simple teaching. It's not like I'm just throwing out things, out of whatever I feel like doing. Okay? This is years and years and years of our tradition. Thousands of years of heritage that we have received. Okay? Now, what is the role of a teacher? The teacher not only has to first understand that whole wealth of knowledge which is available, okay, but then what? The teacher also uses one's own creativity, okay, to look at the contemporary life, okay, and also without sacrificing the meanings, okay, adds one's own creativity to create meanings in the present day context. Okay, so that means, but without transgressing the actual meaning, without sacrificing the intention of what the Shruti is saying. Okay, now that means that the teacher is adding something within the parameters like Indian classical music or any other classical music. I don't know other classical music, but there are rules of raga. You learn for years with your teacher, okay? But when you render, do you exactly follow what the teacher? No. You have your own creativity. You have your own place. But you can't transgress the rules of raga. Okay? Then the teacher passes it on to another student. The other person receives it. Okay? That other person adds one's own creativity but follows within the same certain rules which are part of the whole tradition. Okay? So this is how the teaching has come through to you. Right now it is available to you through this what we call Guru Shishya Parampara. Highly sophisticated body of knowledge is passing from generations to generations. The fact that it is available to you with such amazing precision, okay, and the depth and the width, it's something we are all carriers of the tradition. Okay, we are not creators of this tradition. We have verses which says Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Student, teacher, highly evolved thoughts. They are not ordinary thoughts. So one has to have certain sanctity, one has to have some respect for the whole teaching tradition.
Neema, you just gave up, you just said a verse. I didn't understand it.
Okay, it only means starting from where is the knowledge coming from? What is the source of knowledge? Okay, The source is Sadashiva. Sadashiva is Lord Shankara, Shiva. Okay, so that means what? What did we see? What is Shiva? Shiva is not one given form, right? It is all knowledge. In that all knowledge, which is manifesting in form of all these names and forms, within that all knowledge is the knowledge of the whole universe. And that is passed on. How is it passed on? Through people, right? What is the nature of I? What is the nature of the universe? What is the nature of the cause of the universe? Okay, that means like every other knowledge. Okay, so when before Newton discovered the law of gravity, the apple was already falling, right? It's not that it only started falling when he discovered the law of gravity. The law of gravity was already there, which was not only making the apples fall, which was holding the earth where it was, okay, not colliding with the sun and other planets and other stars, okay, it was already there in the universe. What does a human mind do? It sheds one's ignorance about that fact. Okay? In order to shed the ignorance, you have to be a sophisticated person. It's only Newton who was prepared, because everybody else had experienced falling of the apple, okay? But they could not discover the laws of gravity and then apply to so many different things, okay? So that means you have to have a prepared mind in order for the knowledge to take place. Then how do you pass it on? How did Newton pass it on to others? Through a certain framework, right? You have a framework where you show with tight logic why it is so. And this is what is carried on. When you go to school, you learn, the teacher conveys to you what Newton had discovered and how he proved it to be right. Okay? And you have to expose yourself to that particular thing to see what is being said. Okay? But the source, where is the knowledge? Is Newton the creator of knowledge? No. The knowledge rested where? In that all knowledge, all intelligence and all power, which is manifesting the universe and using these forces to make everything what it is. So, source of not only Veda, but source of any knowledge is only this all knowledge, Ishvara. What human being does is captures that knowledge and removes one's ignorance. Okay? And in order to remove that ignorance, you have to be the one who deserves, who has a sophisticated mind, which can actually get access to certain aspects of that intelligence accurately. Okay? So Sadashiva Samarambha, and in this tradition, Shankaracharya plays a very, very important role. Okay? Because his commentaries on all the Upanishads, there are 100 Upanishads, and from these 100 Upanishads, 10 Upanishads are the ones on which he has written commentaries, which are brilliant pieces of work. Brilliant. Okay? And then Asmadacharya Parayanta. So what is Shankaracharya saying is carried on again through Guru Shishya Parampara up to where? My teacher. Okay? Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. That teaching tradition which is there for generations. It's not just 5, 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 100 years ago. No. And it is heritage of humanity. There is nothing Hindu about it. Okay? It is amazing thoughts, very sophisticated thoughts, very extensive methodology to make you see that fact. Okay? Giving you access to this knowledge by telling you how you can grow to be a deserving recipient of this knowledge. You know, to hold this wisdom, you need to be big. You can't be a small, angular person and hold this grand, vast knowledge which is brilliant. It's impossible. Okay? So this is what is, this is a human heritage, and humanity has a responsibility to save this body of knowledge, because it is too precious to be lost. Just like every heritage, this pyramids, it's not Egyptian anymore, it's world heritage. Great Wall of China, it's no longer Chinese, it is world heritage. If the Egyptian government today says, I'm going to chop all the pyramids and build buildings, whole world will say, you cannot destroy that piece, which is a representation of years and years of sophisticated working. Okay? Same thing, we inherit this culture, this tradition, which is extraordinary tradition. And we have to be proud of it, we have to own up of it, and we have to benefit the whole humanity by its, because the whole humanity has to re-look at how we are living and what are we achieving and what is it which is a human goal. We are not clear about anything and we just live. Okay? And it is something which is that we have to be so grateful that in the order of things we have inherited this knowledge, and we have responsibilities, okay, to make it unadulterated. Don't add my own opinions and my own angularities to it, transfer it exactly, because what it is just too brilliant. My little addition is not going to, maybe my creativity will enable me to convey it better, it's true. Okay? But it's not that I'm going to discover something which is going to be greater than what it is saying. How can you improve on a statement, you are limitless? Tell me. What is better? What is bigger than limitless? Tell me. Okay. The wealth of this tradition, in order to even understand the wealth, you need to have a certain maturity. Okay? So this is how the whole tradition of teaching is, that, the needs universe. What is tamasic participation? There is no vidhi, there is no goal, there is nothing, right? There is no mantra, there is no effort you don't even, whatever you are doing, you don't even make enough effort. You don't even pay enough attention to acquire the right skills for anything. You don't compensate people adequately for the work they have done for you. Okay? So this is what we call tamasic participation in this universe. Okay? Now we move to, because that tapas was not very explicitly mentioned, okay? Lord Krishna, because this was Kashi's question, right? He further very precisely says what is his tapas. Okay, so we'll see those verses. This is only the revision of yesterday. So now today's verse is 14th verse. Okay, so here he says the tapas is, one is, I will chant. Deva Dvija Guru Prajnam Pujanam Shauchamarjavam Brahmacharya Mahimsacha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. The tapas, which is Shariram. Shariram is with reference to your body. Okay. So what does it include? It includes Deva Dvija Guru Prajnam Pujanam. Pujanam means having certain respect. For whom? Deva. Deva is, as we saw, that forces are working for you, okay, to make your life possible. But not only that, he says Dvij. Dvija is Brahmana. Okay? Brahmana is what we, if you remember, who did we define as a Brahmana? Here it's nothing to do as caste. Okay? It is, do you remember? Sattva as the top, Rajas the second, and Tamas the third. This is what we call, that disposition anybody can have in the world. Okay, this is what we call Brahmana. Okay, now having respect for somebody who is sattva, you have to be evolved to have value for sattva.
Yes.
Right? Otherwise, that person who is sattvic is of no importance to you. Okay? Only when you value sattva, the person who carries sattva becomes important for you. As I had said, initially I asked a group of people about who is their hero. It was mostly what?
Entertainers.
Film stars and entertainers, and so that means that that's what they value. Okay? But if you value something more in life, then those people, Gandhi can become your role model. Okay? Or Leonardo da Vinci can become your role model. They are big people. Okay? Very, very talented, very multifaceted talents. Very evolved human beings. Okay? So therefore, Dvija is having respect for that Brahmana. Okay? Brahmana is somebody who has predominant sattvic person. Okay? You have to have an element of sattva to have value for that. Okay? So that means cultivate your taste. So who you are attracted to is somebody who is sattvic. Okay? So that is respecting a Dvija. Okay? Then Guru. Guru has a place. Okay? So now this teachers, what role, any text, okay, you can just basically, you can say, why do I need to go and study biology? There are all books around. Okay, why do I need to go and study this Upanishads? There are so many books, there are so many commentaries. If you go to a library and if you go and see how many books are written based on all these Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, you will find plenty of books. What is the role of a guru? Okay. Why do you need to go and study art from a teacher? Okay. Why do you need a teacher?
Establish the link.
Exactly. That teacher is an embodiment through which the whole tradition is carried on. So that means in order to learn, you need to have a certain respect for the teacher. Otherwise, no teaching will take place. You go to a primary school and you tell the teacher, without the teacher explaining you show me first that this is the reality. Only then I will learn from you.
Yeah.
Is it possible? It is impossible. Okay.
And that there is a words na, Guru Govind दोनों खड़े किसको
किसको
लागू
लागू
पाए.
पाए.
प्रणाम करूँ गुरु आपको जिसने गोविंद सधाए. No, Bhagwan on one side and teacher on the other. First I'll offer my pranam to Bhagwan, teacher, and not to
This is
Bhagwan.
Kabir though.
Kabir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kabir says, this is a beautiful one. Yeah, thanks Alka. It says that there is a Guru and there is Govinda. Govinda is Ishvara. Okay. He says, there are two in front of me. Who should I bow first?
Yeah.
He says, I bow to the teacher first because of his or her grace, I am able to see the real nature of that Ishvara. Without which Ishvara as a fact is already there.
But I have no desire.
But in my awareness, it has been escaping. It's the teacher who makes me see that connection.
So you are the teacher.
Okay, so that is what he says. Guru is somebody that you have to have certain respect. No situation, in no, whether it is mathematics teacher or it is economics teacher, okay, unless you listen to that person with an open mind, okay, and try to see what is being said, okay, and give up your preconceived notions, that the learning will never take place. You will not be blessed enough. Okay, so this is what he says. Guru plays a very important role. Okay, so that is, it says Guru is, there is the pujanam, okay, prajnaha. the value for wise person. Okay. Now value for wise person is something which is interesting. Okay. For years and years, okay, a sannyasi, okay, who has, I mean, traditionally, right, whether present day sannyasis and all, I don't want to discuss that, but traditionally a sannyasi is a one who has given up one's life for, I mean, given up in the other roles in one's life for learning this body of knowledge. Okay, so there is a whole Vedic ritual where you go in the banks of Ganga and you declare and say, I am no longer interested in any other pursuit but the pursuit of this reality. That is the prime focus in my life. And I will do everything that is necessary to prepare me to gain this knowledge. This is what we call sannyasi. Okay. Now a sannyasi, because the person has no other agenda, is committed one's whole life to learning and teaching. Okay. If you see it from the standpoint of the economic value added of the society by a sannyasi, what is the value added? Is sannyasi working, paying taxes? Okay. He can be considered hobo, beggar, right? Or he can be regarded very highly because he has discerned that what ultimately is going to give me what I am looking for is certain knowledge about myself. So you can hold him in high esteem. Either you can say he's wasting his life, or you can see that, my God, what the person understands about one's purpose of life and has the capacity to make that decision, right, to follow through. Okay, and you can respect that person. Okay, so what you see in that person is actually what the values that you have. Okay, prajnaha. Anybody who's committed to knowledge has respect. Anybody who's committed to self-growth has respect. My respect. This is what we call Shariraha Tapaha Pujyate. Deva, Dvija, Guru, Prajna, Pujanam. The other one is Shaucham. Shaucham is cleanliness. Cleanliness is what? Antar cleanliness and external cleanliness. External cleanliness means keeping your environment relatively clean. Okay? One thing which I remember very well, when I was young, my grandmother, when you're young, you just throw your clothes, you don't clean your room, and So generally what happens is people say, clean up, right?
Yeah.
My grandparents were very different, okay? So she used to come and tell me very nicely, very quietly, okay? I mean, this is just a story, you don't have to analyze and do a PhD on it, right? But this is, but just to understand certain idea, it conveys a certain idea, okay? The idea is, she says, you know what, the environment that you keep around you is a little bit of a reflection of how you are. Okay? So what you are getting attracted to, where you like to be, the surroundings in which you like to be, okay, it reflects what, how your mind is working. Okay? So this is why this morning when Jay was, doing this, this Ganga water, you do that, and then you put jasmine flowers, and she says it creates such a beautiful image, even though there is no Ganga, there is no flower, right? So that means that there is this, the mind, which is beautiful, is able to create what? Beautiful surroundings. Okay? The minute she told me that, okay, my whole thing was, it was not a chore anymore that I had to do. Okay, it became like I need to cultivate myself to the point that I like everything. I make an effort to make things beautiful around me. Then I feel good about myself too. Okay, so there is a connection between how we keep our physical environment and how we are feeling. Sometimes the other way works, right? And when I used to work in an office and we have to write many things, so we have to at the UN, so you have to many books to refer to, so your desk is like full of all these books and things like that, right? Then one day I would just say, okay, now let me just clean up the whole thing. Okay, on the day that I clean up all the books and put them in their own place, my capacity to write something and will become much better. Okay, because I have somehow cleaned up my external environment. It has some subtle effect on my capacity to think clearly. Okay, these are subtle things. They are simple, but they are profound. Okay, so that shaucham refers to external shaucham, and it also refers to internal shaucham. How does one clean one's mind? External things I can make an effort and clean. How do I clean my mind? What do I do?
Meditate.
Exactly. Meditation is one of the tools. Absolutely. That is said to be manasa tapas. Okay. So that manas is in the third verse from now. That is manasa tapas. Okay. But shariram tapas is what?
Keeping your body healthy.
Exactly.
Yoga
Keeping
is-
your body healthy. Okay. Shaucham. The
Right
body
food.
and mind have connection. So therefore you do certain. The other thing which is what I mentioned earlier. Okay. So everything that we have, okay, things which are, we don't want to call it, we don't call anything as negative. We don't have this two-dimensional good, bad, negative, positive. We are too nuanced. We are subtle and see the nuances, right? But at times our mind has things like anger, jealousy. Okay, so how do you take care of those things?
You recognize that that's happening.
Exactly. You recognize that is happening. You recognize the distortion that you have in your understanding of things, which is creating those feelings. Okay. You correct your understanding. Later on, the feelings will also go away naturally. You don't need to resist the feelings. What you need to do is learn to manage them appropriately. Okay. That is what we call antar shaucha. Keep your mind clean. Okay? Anytime any thoughts or any tendency, either self-pity, victim, it can have many different expressions, not just jealousy and anger and sadness. Okay? It's amazing how many people suffer from low self-opinion, low self-esteem. Even people who project themselves as very confident and very proud and very, in fact, the so-called superiority complex, it's actually a flip side of inferiority complex. Why? Because if I have a need to show to the world how good am I, what am I looking? I'm looking for recognition from the world. What does it mean? I don't have enough self-respect for myself when I need somebody else's approval to see myself in a certain light. Okay? So that means, or feeling of being victimized. This is a common thing, right? I'm good, but everything else out there is, this has a problem, that has a problem, this has a problem. The whole focus is, the whole system is not good, the country is not good, the society is not good, but I am very clever. I know all the solutions, and this is again a huge thing about, that when I interact with the world, there is a certain amount of presumptuousness, okay, that all has to go, because these are all false castles we build within ourselves. They have to drop. Okay. So this is what we say, the antar shaucham. Take care of your whole outlooks, your attitudes, your commitment to truth. It is just amazing. Sometimes we try to distort truth to conform to my pet ideas. Very common.
Yeah. It feels good.
It feels good. Right? My pet ideas are more important than my understanding of things better. And I think that those ideas are very evolved. Maybe or may not be. Okay? So this is what we say, the Antarshaucham. Then, what is Arjavam? Arjavam is a very nice quality which is what we call straightforwardness. Okay? Straightforwardness is what? That of disbelief. Your mind cannot accept, this is what we call a defense mechanism. Okay? You want to resist information which does not conform to what you think already. Okay? But if you already know everything, you need not go to a teacher. If you are only looking for confirmation, then it's a wrong reason, because then in any learning situation, if it is only going to reconfirm what you already think, then what have you learned? Okay? So that means that tendency to block is something which one has to overcome. It's a tendency on the part of everyone. It's not one person or two person. That resistance is always there. And the teacher has to understand and guide you through that. Okay? Sometimes it's not just the resistance, it comes out as a projection. Projection means that you start thinking that how can this person doesn't know anything, okay? Or you think that you project on the capability of a teacher, okay? Or the ideas that the teacher, the truth of the ideas of the teacher, okay, without sufficiently examining whether what or frivolizing what the teacher is saying. Okay? These are all the mechanisms through which we resist learning. Okay? There, all that has to be taken care of. Okay? So that is that at times that it is the teacher's vakya has become what? Created agitation in you. So does the teacher stop saying what the teacher has to say? No. It has to say it. In a role of a teacher, because what? Your commitment is what? Is to teach, to show you certain things. And it will create certain agitation. It is natural that it will create agitation. Okay? So every value that you see, you have to take it in a proper light. Okay? If I just make statements, okay, to displease with which are not very thoughtful and it can create agitation, it's a different thing. You see the difference between these two? In both there is an agitation created. Okay? In one, that agitation is necessary. Why is that agitation necessary? It will help you to move forward.
And it shakes up the
the existing paradigm. Okay? But that is necessary and healthy. Okay? But when the agitation is created because of your insensitivity, then what happens?
It's frivolous.
It is frivolous. Okay? So that is something that it anudvegakaram vakyam. My vak is my speech. In this thing, vak is equated to Agni. Agni is fire. Okay? Why? Fire performs two functions. Okay? One is the fire can bring light to certain things. So that means your speech can bring light to a certain facts. Okay? Or fire can burn, destroy. Okay? Because a speech can also at times destroy. So that means you have to be deliberate in your speech. Okay? That is what we call vak tapas. Okay? So anudvegakaram vakyam satyam. Okay? Satyam means that you have to, it's very easy. Okay? Speak what is the truth. Okay? Now, in the whole Vedic tradition, a nuance is made. Okay? The nuance is there is a difference between Satyam and Rutam. Okay? What is the difference between Satyam and Rutam? Satyam is you say what you think. Okay? But Rutam is 1 degree higher. Make sure that what you think is right. Because you can be saying what you think, right? So that means you are speaking the truth, but what you understand may not be right at all. So, right, you not only have a responsibility to say what you think and not speak untruth, but you also have responsibility to make sure that what you think is right. That is what we call Rutam. Okay? This is evolving as a person. Okay? So that is what we call Satyam. Then Satyam, but not only Satyam, it is Priyam. Priyam is something which is
Madhur.
Madhur, right? Say it in a way that is not aggressive, right? You can sometimes be saying the right thing, okay? But you can say it in a way, the manner in which you say it. Sometimes, you have to say things which are not so easy, when you are taking a position of either a parent or a boss or whatever. Okay, you can't always be kind of only at times you have to give a feedback which is not so positive, but how you say it. Okay, Priya. Okay, so this is where, in fact, very often when something happens, okay, when we are angry with somebody, okay, we get into a mode where we say what? We start blaming, right? Harsh, blaming. Say, you're like that. Okay? That is what? Accusing. Yesterday Alka was saying that accusing is what? 1 finger there and 3 fingers here. Right? But you can say, in my understanding right now, this is how I see it. That is truthful. You are like that is an accusation. Okay? It's not that every time you only can say only pleasing things. At times you have to tell things which are necessary, which will create a certain agitation. But how you say it is very, very important. You can be truthful, and at the same time you have to learn to be person who expresses whatever one feels in a gentle way. Very important. Okay, Priya. Then Hitam. Hitam is something which is
for the welfare.
For the welfare, right? You don't just want to declare, as I had said last time, that, oh, I don't like your dress. No need. What is the need? Are you doing any hitam?
No.
Is it for any good? Okay. But if the person comes and asks you, you need not lie either. We are not asking you to lie. We are not going to, oh, it's wonderful. We are not asking you to do that. Right? Okay? We are just asking you to be just subtle person, right? Sophisticated in your expression. Okay? Where you say, yeah, it's nice, or even you need not say, I said, oh, but I don't quite care for what. Instead of saying, I don't like it, you say, this is what it's not my preference. Good. Right? So, hitam. Hitam is, how is it going to help the other person to know that you don't like? What value added is that? Okay? So, hitam is another criteria for my speech. Okay? So, that is the, then Swadhyaya Abhyasanam Chaiva Vagmayam Tapa Uchyate. Okay? Any repetition that you do with your speech, you are given the ability. All of you are learning what? Chanting. Now, you are using that speech for creating certain sounds, certain harmonies, which can actually have an impact on the environment. Okay? So that is something which is, that Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means you are repeating with your tongue meaningful sounds. Not just chattering away whole day. Okay? Anything that you do, we do bhajans. It can be a simple bhajan or it can be a highly classical evolved bhajan. Everything is used with vak. Okay? what I remember in my childhood, Alka and her mom, not her mom, her grandmother. Okay, so she was when I was growing up, she was what, maybe in her 80s, 80s or whatever. Okay, now and I was like in 60s. That's when my association is, and she would come. And how much
I'm
she had
8 years
studied?
older to you.
Yeah, no, but what she had studied what?
Class 8.
Class 8, right? And every time she talked about such amazing things, I was like, wow, how does this lady has such a amazing way of looking at things? Reading books means she had number of books she had read. Okay? And never any gossip, never any talk about this one is like that one is like that, nothing. Her thoughts were like just extremely refined. Okay? That means you're speaking, but you're not wasting away your speech in frivolous things. Okay? Swadhyaya. Your speech is a tool that is given to you. Okay? It really is a big reflection of who you are. It gives away. So this is what we say, that, swadhyaya, how do you train it? By really investing in a way that you are cultivating your mind so that the speech will reflect what you are thinking, right? Okay. So swadhyaya abhyasanam. The more you cultivate your mind, what happens? Your speech becomes better, naturally. Otherwise, how do you improve your speech? Not by going to one-day workshop and say how to speak better. No. That may be helpful, but that's